Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's world is crumbling around them. After years of family drama and career failures, the couple's reputation and careers are at rock bottom. Sky News All Stars James Macpherson, Kinsey, Schoefield and Russell Myers take a look at where Meghan and Harry are now and if they'll ever rebuild their shattered lives. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle have had a tumultuous past 5 years. A lot has happened since their whirlwind romance and fairy tale wedding, and it hasn't all been for the best. Following a string of career failures, Meghan Markle has hit another road bump. In a desperate bid to resuscitate her podcasting career after being cut by Spotify, she has signed onto a much smaller podcast distributor. In a statement, she said, "I'm proud to now be able to share that I am joining the brilliant team at Lemonada to continue my love of podcasting." This comes after Meghan Markle rejected the offer to appear in the new Suits remake, with Sky News All-Star Kinsey Schoefield saying the former actress thinks it's beneath her.
Now let's go to Meghan. There's all sorts of rumours that she may be going back into acting. Hollywood, of course, she was a part of the Suits series back in 2018, and there's apparently going to be some sort of a spin-off of Suits. It's going to be filmed in Los Angeles, and she may score a role. Is this something that's likely to happen? I mean, she stepped away from the limelight, didn't she? Didn't she want to have some privacy? Wasn't that the whole point of fleeing the royals and the media?
Right. No, I tend to agree with you. You're absolutely right that it is being reported that in this new Suits spinoff, there's a character that's cut for her specifically to a T. However, I would argue that we did not see Meghan reunite with the cast of Suits at the Golden Globes, a few weeks ago, which would have been a strong, independent statement reminding the world that she was somebody before she married Harry, and she opted not to do that because I believe socially, she thinks she's risen to a much higher level than fourth on the Suits call sheet. I don't think she would consider a project like this seriously. I think that she probably truly thinks that this is beneath her.
The royal family have had their own share of dramas of late, with health concerns for senior royals in the spotlight. Following King Charles's shock cancer diagnosis, Prince Harry took a flight from Los Angeles to the UK to be by his father's side, despite the meeting only lasting 45 minutes. This has raised some eyebrows from royal insider Kinsey Schoefield.
It's been a huge couple of weeks for the royal family and the celebrity and sporting world with the Grammys and Super Bowl. Here with the latest news is host of the To Die For daily podcast, Kinsey Schoefield. Kinsey, let's start with King Charles. He released a statement on Sunday thanking everyone for their well wishes. Do we know anything more about his cancer diagnosis and how long he will be missing from action?
Well, I do anticipate that we're going to see him sooner rather than later, because if you'll recall, it was Prince Charles at the time that really encouraged Queen Elizabeth to step out on her balcony, even though she'd had to cancel so many events during her Platinum Jubilee. It was King Charles, then Prince Charles, that said it's really important that the public see you. And he encouraged her to have that incredible moment that I think will live on for history on the balcony, Queen Elizabeth standing there with the family during her Platinum Jubilee. So I am encouraged by that. I believe that we're going to see him sooner than later, because that he has, he's just very resilient as a person. And then we also saw him at church on Sunday, which to me was important because it feels like he wanted to be the king of all faiths, but I feel like you're really seeing him lean into his specific faith right now, thrust into this kind of horrific situation. And I know that will touch a lot of people's hearts. But Rita, I did not see this coming. This is the wildest time in royal commentary history for me, and I've been along for the Harry and Meghan train.
Royal commentator Russell Myers agrees, saying the quick trip indicates a fractured relationship.
Now, in my editorial, I point to the fact that it's a little unusual for Harry to only have 45 minutes with the King as part of a 24-hour round trip from the States and London and back. What indication does that give you as to the relationship between Harry and his family? And is that an improvement in things, or does it still show those significant signs of strain?
Well, it's an interesting point, because you could look at it on either side of the coin, couldn't you? Because Harry flying over to the UK, 8,000 miles to only spend 25 hours in the country. You know, we're talking 45 minutes or 30 minutes with his father. It doesn't seem an awful long time at all. They hadn't come face to face for a good 16 months, because if you remember when Harry was over here for the coronation, he didn't spend any time with the King or the rest of the family. Again, very, very quick 24-hour trip in and out back to the US. However, it sort of half spoke to me about the seriousness of the King's condition, that Harry wanted to come over and be by his father's side. 30 minutes or not, 45 minutes or not, it's interesting that he took that action. However, you know, we understand that the relationships have been very, very fractured over the last couple of years. They still remain to be. There are an awful lot of ill feeling in the camp about whether people should be forgiving and forgetting Harry for writing the books, for doing the Oprah Winfrey interviews, for taking part in all these broadcasts. So whilst the King may be focusing on his rest, recuperation, his recovery from his cancer diagnosis, I think it'll be a very different ballgame for other members of the family. So Harry might still be out in the wilderness a little bit, and I suppose time will tell.
And commentator Jason Morrison says the whirlwind trip indicates a terrible breakdown with the royal family.
Big news, of course, this week with King Charles, his cancer diagnosis in the UK. Prince Harry's reported, Jason, to have already gone back to the US. Do you think this indicates that it's not potentially as serious as we thought?
Gee, I hadn't thought about that dimension to it. I think it indicates, tragically, a terrible breakdown in a family. When cancer strikes families, regular families, drop everything, pitch in and support. I guess when you've just written a book, you know, shit counting your father and his relatives so profoundly internationally and gone out of your way to do it, it's probably got a long way to go to make up. But you may well be right. I hope you're right. I actually hope it's not as bad as it is. The world doesn't need it.
Despite not accompanying Prince Harry to the UK, Meghan Markle's reaction to her father-in-law's diagnosis has also been under scrutiny.
And Louise, it has been noted, and I think probably a little unfairly, you know, Meghan was out and about just hours before Harry returned from the UK. She hasn't made a public statement about the King's health. How does it look?
Well, she was sort of photographed in Montecito with a big smile on her face. Now, we don't really know why she was smiling, and I agree it could be a bit disingenuous to somehow align that to news that her father-in-law is ill and her sister-in-law is recovering from surgery. I often find with Meghan, though, that she is very up, and if she does see a photographer, she will sort of bring out that big megawatt grin, sometimes to sort of create a bit of an allure that, you know, she's got some great news or there's some fantastic announcement she's about to make, to keep herself sort of relevant in that way. So I guess maybe a more sombre sort of demeanour in public may have been more appropriate, but I guess we were kind of spared anything sort of really set up like Meghan browsing get well soon cards or buying bunches of flowers or something like that. So I think she's just sort of BAU while waiting for Harry to come home.
And it's not only his own family who Prince Harry is warring with. The rebel prince has been at war with journalists for years with no end in sight, costing him a lot of money and his reputation, says Sky News All-Star Louise Roberts.
That brings me, Louise, to my next question. What's next for Harry in this space? You know, he's now settled these two pieces of litigation recently. Does the war on the media continue?
I think yes, despite settling the cases against Mirror Group, this is a crusade and it doesn't show any sign of ending soon. The mere fact that his own barrister, David Sherborne, outside the court spoke for the Prince, outside the High Court, and said our mission continues. I mean, there are other cases and other actions at the moment which are live, but clearly Harry sees this as a personal mission to right the wrongs of the errant press. And I think he sort of sees it in a way as a bit of a lever to get public support as well, because it's a well-trodden target the sort of evil, nasty tabloid press and the havoc they cause for his mother, the havoc they cause for him and his brother as well. But it's very interesting to see the difference in how Harry deals with the press, not liking them, and how William deals with the press, not liking them, and who can blame either of them for having a very fractious relationship with the media, given what's happened in the past. But I think Harry is on a mission to be at war with journalists, which so far hasn't really worked that well for him, despite the settlements. Whereas William, of course, has found a way to work with the media, and you'll see globally the press that Kate and William get is always fantastic because they know it's part of the job. They have to work with journalists, they have to work with photographers, and they have to at least build a relationship with these sort of big media outlets, not really be at war with them. That's not a good strategy.
Sky News All-Star James Macpherson argues that after the drama the Sussexes have caused, the royal family want absolutely nothing to do with them.
I can give you a dozen reasons why they should be kicked to the curb, but I'll give you 3.
Go on.
Number 1, Harry and Meghan would be happier if they were simply Mr. and Mrs. Sussex rather than royals. I mean, they don't call them the Ginger and the Whinger for nothing. They've done nothing but complain from the moment they were born into or married into the royal family. The only benefit they see from being part of the royals is that it adds a revenue stream for them. So make them happy. Get them out of there. Second, the royal family themselves would be happier. I mean, they can't plan a funeral or a coronation without worrying about how it's going to affect Meghan and Harry. They become the centre of everything. So the royal family would be better off. I mean, Harry has called Charles mean, Camilla nasty. He's called his brother a bully. He's called Andrew an embarrassment, and on that one he may have a point. But the royal family would be happier just to get rid of them. And finally and quickly, I think the British public would be happier. I mean, when you have a cancer in your body, you don't keep it around, you cut it out. Harry and Meghan are a cancer in the royal family. He's 5th in line to the throne. Now, it's unlikely, but it's still possible. Do you really want King Harry? We don't. Get rid of them.